So I'm all ready to talk NFL draft, and then the Detroit Lions say, "Hey, wait, not on my watch." Yes! Oh man, it's Friday. The draft is 6 days away, and the Detroit Lions want to be interesting. Oh man, my boy Funk, man, thank you so much, my brother. Funk, I want to hear from you and the rest of the Lions fans. I'm all ready to talk draft. I'm all ready to talk Jalen Hurts, and so here, this is my day. I get a message from Keys. Hey, he's going to go, man, your Lions fans are going to flip out about this. And he sent me something from PFF, which I instantly assumed wasn't true. Then I cross-referenced it and found out the big news. If you have not heard, 5 NFL players, 4 Detroit Lions were suspended for gambling. All of them are backups with the exception of Jameson Williams. Now, Jameson Williams did receive a 6-game suspension. It's Jameson Williams and Stanley Berryhill. Stanley Berryhill is a backup receiver, played a little on special teams. Him and Jameson Williams have a 6-game suspension. Were Quentin Cephas, CJ Moore of the Lions, they were both cut, and this very smart move by the Lions. I believe Shaka Toney was you know what? I got the I got the NFL Network's article here. The Lions went ahead and released Cephas and Moore. I thought Shaka Toney was released. I don't have that information, so I apologize. But Jameson Williams, who was supposed to be a big part of the Lions' plan this year, is not going to be here, and that's kind of a big deal. And I should have had this up ready to go here. I wanted to have the draft order because the Lions, this changes things for the draft. Oh my God, Alex! By the way, Alex, on I didn't comment, but you were right. The Arizona Cardinals uniforms are bad. They are not good. It's really yeah. Those are not good, man. I'm glad to hear it. Matter of fact, I hope you've been following my mock drafts. My last one, I had your Houston Texans getting very creative. One thing I've been mocking in my last 2 drafts was at pick number 26 when the Cowboys pick. I had the Cowboys and the Texans flipping from 26 to 33. So, yeah. Texans. By the way, man, your Houston Texans, I've seen some crazy stuff. I had some crazy stuff in my last mock. I had them going from 2 to 4 with the Colts and then going from 12 to 10. In this way, you get you get Tyree Wilson at 4, and then you get Hendon Hooker at 10. And I don't think it's as cut and dry as people think. I think 2's kind of like kind of up for grabs. Texans are gonna be fun team to watch. I will be live for the draft. So hopefully you'll be there. Oh my God, Jimmy! Yes. Jimmy, man, after the draft, I'm going to break down all 32 teams, over-unders for the year. There's 3 teams before the draft, I would say you definitely want to put money on. A guy I respect and love quite a bit. I'm going to try to get him on the show, Professional Gambler. He already put action on Arizona under 5.5, and that's pretty solid bet. I think I don't like betting on rookie head coaches, but this one might be a good one. You also put money on under 6.5 for the Bears early on around the same time last year, and that's yeah. Man, this is what I'm here. This is why I want. This is what we're going to talk about. JMO suspension is so much BS. No one in the world has ever heard that if you're in an NFL facility, you're not allowed to gamble on a college basketball game. Schefter and others didn't even know. Okay. Well, we're going to talk about this because I disagree with that statement. And we're going to talk about this. And by the way, I'm going to be very clear. Just because I disagree with you doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. We're two grown men having a conversation because I want to talk about this. I'm glad I get some Lions fans. So. Yeah, you did. I was having, and by the way, man, Keys, you and Gooch, I'm going to be live Tuesday, do a live mock draft. You and Gooch, aka the talent. If you want to come on and participate, I asked Luke G a while back. I'm going to have to hit him up. My work schedule's been kind of hectic, so. But yeah, you did. I was just trying to make it. I was just trying to make it fun. I wasn't lying. I was just making it a little fun. Did you notice I covered my mouth when I said I wasn't lying? Yeah. I think so too. The Lions are the favorite by sports books to win the NFC North, and that's why this news is a big deal because I think for the first time in a long time, the Lions are not only a team that could win the North, but they're a legitimate playoff team going into 2023. But part of them being a legitimate playoff team is having Jameson Williams. And that I think it's a big loss, and we don't have the schedule out yet, so we don't know. I mean, we know they play Kansas City, and there's a chance those 6 games are going to be good games. Here's how it affects the draft. The Lions pick 18, 48, and 55, and now I think the Lions legitimately have to look at wide receiver as early as 18. And we're going to talk about this. I really think that now we have to look at wide receiver being a legitimate position of concern at 18, 48, and 55. Where before I would have said, well, you want to get a receiver later in the draft. They got a couple picks in the 5th round, a couple picks in the 6th round. I'm using Tankathon, and their website's not 100% correct. So the way they have it is 6, 18, 48, 55, 81, 1, and then 5th round, 152, 1. Some of it's not correct. So, JMO's situation. So, yeah, I wanted to see him play. I was really excited. This is bad news for the Detroit Lions. This is really bad news. I think that this news is a lot worse than people think because if the Lions don't succeed this year, right? If they don't get to the playoffs, they go, let's say, slide a little bit. Let's say they're a 7-win team. Do people lose their jobs? And I think it's a legitimate concern. This is a big deal. It's 4 players. So, seriously, the kid got 6 games for betting on a college game because he used his phone to place the bet while in the Lions facility. Absolutely ridiculous rule considering if he was across the street. Nothing would have happened. We're going to go into detail over this. Because I don't have all the facts. I have the the NFL Network. I have the article up there, but I want to go into this in extreme detail because I'm gonna play. You're going to do the good cop. I'm going to do the bad cop. So yeah. I had Houston drafting Stroud or Anderson at 2. If Young isn't there, there's a good chance we trade down. However, yes. And you know what? I was going to say this, but this is kind of draft talk. I think the Texans like Bryce Young. By the way, I haven't talked to Cassio. I'm going to use his name wrong. I don't have any inside information. I'm just a guy who loves football, and I want to talk football with people that love football just like you. I really think that if Bryce Young goes 1, then it's open season for the Houston Texans. I really believe that. If Bryce Young's available at 2, I think you make the pick. That's why in my last mock draft, because I had every mock draft I've had CJ Stroud going 1. Well, it looks like things are shifting and that it looks like Bryce Young is probably going number 1 now. And If that's the case, if Bryce Young goes number 1, the Houston Texans at 2 could go Anderson. They could go Wilson. You know they like drafting Texas guys. They could go Stroud. They could trade down. I really believe that. But I have a weird feeling the Houston Texans really like Bryce Young. And that's the impression that I get. So if Bryce Young goes 1, I don't know if they're as high on CJ Stroud as they are for Young. I personally have my number 1 quarterback as CJ Stroud. And another thing is I've been hearing, and I'm hearing this more and more teams are higher on Hendon Hooker than they are on Anthony Richardson because my boy Denver Gator, and hopefully he's in the chat. Denver Gator told me, he's like, Dan, you know, I'm not going to trash you or anything, but Hooker over Anthony Richardson, are you on crack? And I was like, no, I've been hearing this from a lot of different sources. I mocked the draft where Hendon Hooker goes 6 to Detroit. So at least to be able to do a full training camp preseason might be. That's what I kind of want to wait, because I really think that he could appeal this, and he may be able to get it down to 4. But this is a very big deal, and it wouldn't surprise me at pick number 18 if the Lions have to go wide receiver. It might also be a situation where they're just saying, "Look, we're going to give you a chance, but we're gonna work hard to try to get rid of you." Instead of making him available, it may be a situation where he gets tied up in a trade. I had a mock trade with the Lions, and I don't know if I can. We'll see here, because I had a mock trade before this news came out. I had a mock trade with Jameson Williams involved. Now I don't know. So I think the Ridley suspension takes away any ignorance for any NFL player. I'm really glad you said that, because I disagree. I agree with you. I'm sorry. I'm so used to arguing with you. I just jumped in. No, I agree. There's no excuse for this. All right. I'm gonna tell you this. What's the one college that makes you more pro ready than any other college? And it's Alabama. All right. You basically have NFL coaches, former NFL coaches. Over the last several years, nobody's produced more NFL talent. Jameson Williams went to Alabama. He knew about all these rules. I don't remember if he redshirted or not. Now Williams did play at Ohio State, so he was at Alabama. I think Alabama for 2 years, Ohio State for 2. Is that correct? Should have had all this information up before I went live. But if you graduated from the University of Alabama, you should know the rules. Bottom line. Calvin Ridley, also an Alabama graduate. Guy ruins my point. One thing about the NFL is that these guys have meetings. They have league meetings and they have team meetings. Here's the thing that people are kind of overlooking, is that I really think that management has to take some ownership to this. I think Dan Campbell should try and say, hey, look, I should do more to alert the players of the rules. He hasn't done that yet. Could Dan Campbell or Brad Holmes get some heat because of this? Maybe. Very doubtful. This is a big deal. Like this isn't a slap on the wrist. This isn't something that, hey, it's some wiggle room. No, you're aware of these rules, and they're strict, and they're there for a reason. And with sports gambling becoming more and more relevant, I live in the state of Kansas, where sports betting just became legal in September. You have more and more emphasis on this. So, really, really disappointed, and it's going to hurt the Lions. And the worst part is, coming a week before the draft, you're the Detroit Lions. I think you have to switch your game plan. I think that now, when pick number 18 comes around, you have to say, hey, look, do we take a wide receiver? This is a big deal. But I don't think JMO missing 6 games. I think just the opposite. And this is the whole point of this channel. I want to get your opinion, Funk. You've been coming on for years. I 100% agree with everything that you're saying. I just have a different opinion. All right, I misspoke. I'm sorry. I 100% respect what you have to say. I just have a different opinion. That's what I meant to say. Sorry. Why isn't rule on gambling just a ban on NFL bets? Why make it so complicated? Here's the thing. The NFL has all these rules set out. The team, the Detroit Lions organization and front office, I personally feel should get out in front of this and say, hey, look, we should have done a better job educating our players. And if they do that, there's a better chance that when the appeal comes, and there will be an appeal, that this maybe gets bumped down to 4, maybe even 2. Definitely possible. Definitely possible. No energy drink today. I'm jacked up, man. I am jacked up. Yeah, I really do. I think the Detroit Lions now at 18 and at 48 and 55 now have to consider wide receiver. NFL players and definitely star players probably shouldn't be gambling. Exactly. By the way, the Detroit Lions, this has happened before. Alex Karras and the Golden Boy Paul Hornung, both of them got suspended for a year for betting on sports. This in the 60s, but this has been issued. This has been going on for a long time. This isn't. It's new and it's old all at the same time. Bottom line, these players, look, these guys are multimillionaires. There's really not an excuse for this. Really not an excuse. Everybody here, I'm assuming almost all of you have heard the stories about Jordan playing blackjack till like 7 a.m. The thousands he's bet on a round of golf. Same with Barkley. I'm not saying players shouldn't. Here's the thing: if you're a star player, you probably shouldn't be betting at all. Probably shouldn't. I'm going to tell you this right now: on every single NFL flight, every single one of them, there's some sort of betting going on. I'm telling you this. It could be playing poker, blackjack, rummy. It's funny. I was just listening like the New Heights, and they I think it was Jason Kelsey. They were talking about how they would play a game where you would write your name on the dollar bill, put it in the pillowcase. Somebody pulls it out, and whoever's name's on it gets to keep the pillowcase. And I mean, stuff like that happens. I get it, but no, you shouldn't be doing stuff that can be tracked. Calvin, I always get names mixed up. One's Steven, one's Calvin. I'm gonna say Calvin. Hopefully that's right. He had his name like Calvin Ridley, number 80. That was like his username on the betting site. And it's like, come on, man, you can't have your buddy do this for you. Like, if you wanted to make a bet. All right, let's just say you want to bet. Let's just say it was college basketball. I think there's a report that was college football. I don't know. Have your buddy do it. All right, let me get some of the comments. Thanks, Keys. The rule that everyone has about was you are not allowed to bet on the NFL. The fact that he bet on college, not the problem. The problem was that he was an NFL facility. We could pull this whole episode into situational ethics debate about what the law is versus what common sense law should be. Cassier, I'm bad with names. You guys know I'm bad with names, so please, as long as player doesn't bet on the league he plays, there should be no problem. Just so annoying, just one major one. I'm not worried about the games he has to miss. Lions did fine without him last year, and they can go 3-3 without him. They'll still be in good shape. They could be. I just worry about, are they going to be key games? Or is it going to be a division game early? When if they have to play Minnesota early on? Are you going to tell me when if they play Kansas City early on is that big deal? So That's, by the way, they've done some really good moves in free agency. CJG, I always get it. CJGJ, great pickup. Mosley, I forgot how much I liked Mosley and Sutton. There's some really good additions in the secondary. I think that they're going to add to the front seven. They should. We go wide receiver at 12 no matter what. I haven't been mocking that. I've been mocking defensive line. I've been mocking defensive line. Let me see. Well, my last mock I didn't, but a lot of mocks I've had Miles Murphy at 12. Miles Murphy, by the way, would be great for the Texans. I saw a draft with Maurice Jones-Drew that had Jackson Smith and Jigba, a guy that I really think would look good in the Chiefs uniform going. But I'm not so sure you go 12. That might be a little high for one of these. The funny thing about this wide receiver draft is that you could have one receiver go in the first round and you could have 6. And everybody's got something different. And if you ask 5 draft experts, I'm not me, but if you ask 5 legitimate draft experts, you're going to have 5 different number ones. My number one wide receiver is Quentin Johnston out of TCU, but I think the Chiefs like Jackson Smith and Jigba. Does that make a lot of sense? By the way, I would love to see Texans go CJ Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think that would be genius. I would love that. I have Stroud as my number one quarterback, by the way. But I have a feeling the Texans like Young better. Am I making sense? I got some crazy stuff here. That's right. I forgot about Miles Austin getting suspended. Miles Austin got suspended last year as a coach for betting on table games in non-NFL professional sports, so I don't think so, Funk. Jimmy, that's just it. The Lions averaged 30 plus a game without J-Mo. The run game got better, and Marvin is just as productive as Chark. They won't miss J-Mo as much as people think. Hopefully. I think last year the Lions were a 3-win team, and they started out 1-7, and they kind of snuck up on some people. Now the Lions are not a team that's going to sneak up on people. How much can they change? How much can they adapt? Are they going to run the same scheme? How much are they going to do without Jamal Williams? I think Montgomery's a slightly better running back, but and knock on wood, you stay healthy. So I'm thinking of betting CJ Stroud at 1 for plus 700, Bryce Young at 2 for that would be. Oh, wait a minute. You go Stroud, Young in that order. Oh boy. I do like it, and I'll tell you why. Because if you hit, if you hit one, you're going to hit the other. I mean, I really believe that. If you hit Stroud, you're going to hit Young, and bottom line, if Young goes 1, and I think right now Young is probably going to go number 1. So, I always say the same thing, don't bet your rent money, but I really like that bet because I think you're getting excellent value because the way I'm looking at it is plus 2,100. If you hit Stroud, you're going to hit Young. That's why I like it. That's why I like it a lot. So, bottom line, it's not going to be okay. So Maurice Jones-Drew, his mock draft was Anthony Richardson at 1, which I'm telling you is not going to happen. But let's just say it did. If you hit Anthony Richardson, could you have Young at 2? Sure. So I like it. I like excellent value, and I hope it hits. I'll be if you can, I'll be live. Bufa said he's going to join me, even though he might get divorced. If you can, let me know if you made that bet and if you hit. I would love to hear it. At the end of the day, there's been enough suspension as to where if you're an NFL player, you should confer with your legal representative to ensure what you are and aren't able to do in terms of betting. That's the whole thing is that in college, he had enough of an education. Okay, here's the deal. In major college programs, Ohio State and Alabama, you have classes specifically on how to behave in a major sports program. All right. You have a media class. You have all sorts of information. The NFL has a rookie symposium where you go to lectures. It's really detailed. There's no excuse. There's no thing saying it should not have been a thing where he didn't know that this was the wrong thing to do. There's no excuse for that. And personally, this is just my opinion without knowing more. If I was the Lions organization, I would try to take the blunt of the blow and say we should have done a better job of educating. But I don't think that would work. Part of me doesn't think that would work because these players should know that. They really should know that. If you don't do that, you're being negligent while hoping you can claim ignorance, rightfully so or not. Exactly. The talk around Houston is half the building, specifically D'Amico Ryans doesn't like Stroud, so there's a chance at 2. That's not young to go Anderson or trade down. Yeah, I really get the vibe that I love CJ Stroud. I don't think the Houston Texans do. So here's what I mocked in my if you didn't, I didn't put it in the link, but so I mocked Young going 1, and then I had Indianapolis switching with Houston going 4 and 2. All right. And the reason why is at 4, I took Tyree Carter out Texas Tech. Right. But then at 10, because I went from 12 to 10 with Philly. Philly's a team I definitely think wants to trade down. Philly doesn't have the pick in rounds 4, 5, or 6. So I think they want to trade down. So I had a 12-10 trade, right? The Colts would give you the number 1 pick this year, the number 2, which is pick number 35, I believe, 35, 36, something like that, and number 1 next year. So you're getting lots of value there, right? The trade sounds a little crazy, but you get your quarterback and you get your defensive end. And Will Anderson, I think, would flourish in this defense. I went Carter, which I don't think is bad either. Arizona, if they can't trade down, I think they take Anderson. Anderson's still not my number 1 edge rusher. So I don't trust. Excuse me. I don't truly trust his voices right now because no one knows what's going down on Kirby because Casero. I'm butchering that name today. And all the Texas organization keeps their lips there. You are right. You are right. Oh, my bro, Kaioi. Yes. Welcome, brother. I still think they take a whiteout Funk. I seriously, I really do. I really believe that now you have to look at wide receiver, maybe at 18, but 48 and 55. And there's a good chance at 48 or 55, there could be a player that slips. Jalen Hyatt at 48 might make a lot of sense if he's available. I know it's off topic, but touching what you said earlier, Dan, the new card. Yeah. They are. Yeah. No, yeah. I saw your tweet, and I those are terrible, man. I mean, those. Yes. The Reds are U of H. Why didn't I see? Yeah, they are. They're really. By the way, if you haven't seen the Texans, the Cardinals uniform. By the way, I hate the all black. But yeah, I do too. I do. By the way, I'm behind on comments. I'm going to zip through some of these because I want to make sure I get everybody. I want to talk about everybody. I'm ranting a lot, so. I think to the extent of whether how much Jameson Williams missing 6 games matters is really dependent. Exactly. And I may have a schedule reveal and I may talk everybody. I think this year I might just do a Chiefs video, but I really want to talk about this. Is really important though. So I'm not saying it won't matter. Yeah. Well, I mean, when if they play Kansas City early, when if they play Minnesota early, Oh God, I got Aaron here. What's up, brother? Man, he's on his lunch. Aaron, man, I'm so happy to see you, man. I'm behind on comments here, so hopefully you're seeing me say hello to you, man. This is awesome. But I do believe Pete Rose belongs in the Hall of Fame. Paul Horning's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm Alex Karros is in the Hall of Fame, isn't he? So sorry, my computer's giving me alerts that so. James, welcome, brother, man. I think you have to consider it now. Here's the deal. When I looked up at the draft, I didn't do a 2-round mock. I may do that next year, but if I did a 2-round mock at 18, 48, and 55, and a receiver drops somebody I really like, and your Detroit Lions at 48, you may have to consider it. When I was kicking backs from Muay Thai, kicks sound like gunshots. Don't want to sound cocky, dude. I want to hear more about it, man. Dude, you could have, like I said, Jalen Hyatt would be a guy that it would be really interesting. He's a guy I'm pretty high on. 5 touchdowns against Alabama says it all, and you may be able to get him around too. I think it'd be a good fit. JMO wasn't there last year. Chark was hurt on and off the start last year. Marvin Jones should be able to equal Chark to run game, but I better know your Ben's offense will be fine. Hopefully. But I really think it affects the draft because I really think now you have to consider wide receiver in the first 2 rounds. This is the response I really wish more Lions fans had. You shouldn't be sorry. You should be pissed. There's no excuse for this. I really don't think there's any excuse for this, and you should be pissed. He should know better. Sun God is going to be doubled a lot, and Marvin is old. I like the Sun God thing. The Lions issue won't happen. The defense goes back to it was start the year last year. Literally in the first 7 weeks, Lions were they were, and I really like some of the upgrades they made. And what do they do at 6? I mean, we've talked about this before, but at 6, if Jalen Carter's available, does he go 6 to Detroit? Can you imagine Jalen Carter like a motivated, pissed off guy? Jalen Carter comes into Detroit. Tyree Wilson, Will Anderson. I know you didn't like it, and it is a little high, but Miles Murphy on this defense would be really good. The more film I watch on Miles Murphy, the more I'm like, oh my God. I see my Texans win 7 to 8 games this season with a ceiling of 11. We have a favorable schedule and a very weak division. Depending on the team play, we could make the playoffs. You actually could. And here's the key. What Lovie Smith did is that he went with the defensive line rotation, hoping that fresh legs would compensate for really lack of ability and lack of talent. And it doesn't. You need a monster. And one thing that you're getting from D'Amico Ryans is he was part of the the 49ers organization. They won 4 games. They drafted Nick Bosa. They went to the Super Bowl. And I think that he knows that you need a monster on that defensive line. That's why at 12, I could see somebody like maybe Miles Murphy or Lucas Van Ness going to Houston and maybe not receiver. I've been mocking Jordan Addison, the Buffalo at 27, but I would love Addison to the Chiefs. And I do think we didn't talk about it, but I do think the Chiefs are going to trade up. And I've been trading up for a wide receiver. So I think the Jags do win that division, but it's a very interesting division because I think you got Jacksonville, which is on the upside, and then you got Houston's rebuilding. Tennessee's in a really weird spot. And the Colts, they're kind of going to rebuild this year with a rookie quarterback. But the thing is, though, the Colts, they got lots of talent at other places. So the Jags are probably the overwhelming favorite, but I'm looking to see who finishes number 2, and there's no answer. And I mean, can Tennessee turn things around? Can Derrick Henry play 17 games? Let's just say 15. Jonathan Taylor comes back at 100%, and that receiving core with a rookie quarterback, can they turn things around? Houston has some interesting questions. but they have some good pieces in play, so it's going to be fun. But yeah, Jacksonville's got to be the favorite. To me, it's the Jags division, another head coach, quarterback. Yeah, and you don't right now. You don't have one. That's the whole point, is that I was expecting Jameson Williams to be the number 2 guy. I really wanted Williams to be the number 2 guy, so I'm kind of mad because I was expecting, I was hoping Jameson Williams would push Amon Ra to be a number 2 instead of a number 1, and I was really hoping there would be legitimate competition. You're not going to get that. So I think at 18, 48, and 55, you got to consider wide receiver now. I wouldn't have considered wide receiver at 18 for Detroit. I was really looking at, like, I was thinking like edge corner, but you could go corner edge. 18, I've mocked at one point Trenton Simpson, which is I think very high, but that would work. You can go Drew Sanders there if you wanted to. Who I think is like a poor man's Micah Parsons, but wasn't you had double dip? Carter and Cansey, wasn't it you who had that? You could have got creative. Now you have to throw in wide receiver. So no way wide receiver goes 6. All the players you mentioned bet on the NFL. Name a last party of suspension betting on college basketball game. I'll wait. No, you're right. You're right. I don't remember somebody betting. I like that. I'll wait. God, I asked Luke G if he'd come on. I didn't hear back yet, but it was actually funny. Just not too long ago, I watched that Boston College scandal. That was great. That was great. Great job by ESPN. I just watched that recently. And that was an awesome, if you haven't seen it, it was a ESPN 30 for 30. And so one of my all-time favorite movies is Casino and Goodfellas. And in the movie Goodfellas, they mentioned the Boston College game. Like it's like so quick you might miss it, but then they did a 30 for 30. And they actually interviewed a real Henry Hill from Goodfellas. They interviewed the guy who the real not the actor, the actual Henry Hill, and he talks about his story involving the Boston. It's really good. Agree on what RHH? Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, there we go. I had the Jags winning the division right now. Houston coming in second, Colts third, Titans fourth. I just wouldn't be surprised if we win it. Jacksonville has to take a step back. Jacksonville's a very interesting team because I think right now the big 3 in the AFC is still Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Buffalo. But I think you can make a legitimate case that all 3 of those teams took a step back. And even though you are losing your starting right tackle, or not you, I'm sorry, Jacksonville is – I can make a strong argument Jacksonville's actually gotten better this offseason, while I think Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Buffalo may have taken a small step back. I still think there's a gap there. But right now, today, and it's partly because I think that Jacksonville – I do think Jacksonville wins that division pretty easily, but I also don't think their defense is that good, but it's young and improving, so I can see Lawrence putting up big numbers. I have Lawrence right now is my 2023 favorite to win MVP. I think he's going to step up. I think he's going to put up big numbers, and I could also see a situation where Mahomes isn't going to need to throw for 5,000. Knock on wood. I do have to agree on you. I like Stroud a lot, Aaron. Stroud's been my number 1 guy for all. The more I watch, everything he does is very impressive. But the number one thing is his demeanor. He looks completely calm and composed 100% of the time. He just, I love it. I love it. I really think that whether he goes number 1 or number 2, or if he slides in the draft. One thing about the quarterback positions, you need external factors to work for you more than any other position. But Stroud, I think I could easily see being like 10 years from now, who's the best quarterback in this draft? We all go, oh, yeah, it's CJ Stroud. I'm looking forward to watching the Lions this season. This division looks a lot more winnable for them to me. Yeah, I mean, the whole NFC North is going to be kind of fun to watch because Minnesota won 13 games. They're not favored to win that division. Detroit is at 9. Green Bay, what's going to happen with them? I mean, are they just going to fall apart? I mean, remember they had a lot of injuries on the offensive and defensive line. I mean, if they get healthy, they run the ball a lot and don't rely on a passing game. I mean, you never know. Chicago's kind of an interesting story. I mean, that was a pretty solid trade. I mean, DJ Moore's a good player. When Chase Claypool realizes his potential, I mean, but I'm looking forward to seeing the Lions this year. I think everybody is. If you're a football fan, you like, I know it sounds like I'm just going to kiss ass to my Lions fans, and hopefully you don't feel like I need to do that. But man, I'm looking forward to watching the Lions. This is a team that's been a bad team for a long time. Now this year, they're favored at every major sports book. I believe that's still to be true. I haven't looked at it recently. After the draft, I'm going to kind of go into more detail about that and maybe do some videos. But yeah, the Lions are going to be a fun team to watch, man. I'm excited because I've done so many mock drafts, not just the videos, but just for myself and just for fun. And it's funny because at 6, I always get stuck. At every mock draft I've done. I always get stuck at 6 and go, what do I do? And now with Jameson Williams coming up, it's now, well, you know what? You may have to go wide receiver now at 18. So what do you do here at 6? It makes it so much more interesting. So if I recall correctly, the Lions had 14 combined wins, 1+ score losses last season. Not that each season definitely builds off the previous season. Every season I always try to every year what I do is when I break down all 32 teams, I use a very simple plus-minus system. Is this team better? Is this team worse? All right. And kind of with the Lions, with the free agent acquisitions and with the youth on that team, I've given them a plus. Even with the Jameson Williams suspension, I still would give them a plus. But you also have to realize there's a big difference when you're not expected to do anything and you sneak in and you win some games. Going from 3 to 9 is completely different than going 9 to 12. So, a lot of teams, it's really easy. I'm sorry, my eye is really itching. I have no idea why. It's human nature to get really pumped up when you're an underdog. And that's something the Detroit Lions did really well. It's a different thing when you're the favorite. It's a different thing when you're the favorite. And I wonder how they'll respond. Because one thing about the Detroit Lions, when they get down, they're coming back. Like they could be down 34-7. Okay, well, Lions are going to score a couple touchdowns. You saw it over the last 2 years. You also saw if the Lions were up 34-7, it's like, well, they're probably going to blow this. So how do they handle that? And it's going to be really interesting. The Detroit Lions are going to be a very fun team to watch this year. And now with this, they're going to be really fun because I'm looking at 18, 48, and 55, and I'm going to wonder, are they going to draft a wide receiver here? What do you think about Jahmyr Gibbs to the Lions? I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I haven't mocked him in the first round. I don't think I think I did one draft where I mocked him in the first round. If you mock Gibbs to the Lions, I think if you're smart, you try to trade Swift for anything. But if you've made up your mind that, hey, we're going to move on from Swift, just no matter what, then you draft Gibbs, and it's a great move. And to be honest, he's a different type of player. I think he's a guy that I really want to put in the backfield and move him out. He's a guy that I would love to get about 10 to 15 touches a game, but half of those be receptions. Like if he was on the Chiefs, let's say he goes to the Lions. I want him to do the same thing I said for Swift. I want him to catch like 80, 90, 100 passes. I don't want him to run between the tackles. I don't want him running the ball a lot. I want him catching the ball, and I want to get him in space. But yeah, I would love it. If you can get him at 48, I think that would be a steal. If you drafted him at 18, I'd go. But I did a mock of John Robinson going 6, and I don't think that's out of the line either. Perry, what's up, brother? I should have done a little more research into this, but Perry, I just got a weird feeling the Texans aren't really high on CJ Stroud. He's my number 1 quarterback. And every mock draft except for my last one, I had Stroud going number 1. But yeah. I also say Maurice Jones-Drew, who works for the NFL Network, he had Richardson number 1. And by the way, you only make a blockbuster trade to 1 if you know who your guy is, right? And I thought it was Stroud. I really did. I think it's Bryce Young now, but you're right there in SEC country. You're right there. No court. Okay, so here's how I grade the court. Here's how I got the first round quarterbacks going. Okay, I got Stroud as number 1, but Young has the best tape. Richardson has the most upside. Hendon Hooker is a guy like you have the medical question, but if you're in a situation where you have your guy for year 1 already mocked out, Tampa Bay, for example, that would probably be my option because I thought that Stroud and Young are going to go 1 and 2. Okay. Levis has a lot of potential, and it used to be the old school. Bill Parcells only drafted players that were on the honor roll. You didn't make the honor roll, you weren't going to get drafted by Bill Parcells at quarterback. Well, Levis 4.0 student, big physical dude, big arm. I watch the more I watch of Levis, the more I like. The thing is, I remember I watched Matthew Stafford at Georgia. I watched him for 5 minutes. I said that he's probably going number 1. I watched Andrew Luck for like 3 or 4 plays. I'm like, oh, that's a first round quarterback. I tried watching a lot of Levis last year, and I never said, oh, wow, that's first round quarterback. I said that about Richardson. I said that about Hendon Hooker. I said that about CJ Stroud. Bryce Young, I'm worried because I'm like, God, he looks like he's like 190. Can that handle in the NFL? So, but you're not alone. You are not alone. Richardson could go 4 to the Colts. He could slide 19 to Tampa Bay. The fun thing about this draft is that there's so many question marks and so many things going from here to there and everywhere. I think in all my mock drafts, I'd earliest had a wide receiver go was 19 or 14. Maybe I think 19. I don't think I ever had one going 14. Where Alex says, hey, Texans 12 wide receiver, count it. So like everybody's gonna have something different. So I've been saying the Lions will draft a wide receiver for a while. Now that kid will miss a few games. Everyone else is jumping on the bandwagon. Here's the thing. I was all on board the Lions, like taking a wide receiver 3rd, 5th round, and there's going to be some interesting things. But I think now the conversation is 1848 or 55. So It was a bad joke. Bad joke. I joke around. His wife hates me, but Bufa is going to be live for the whole first round. He said, yeah, even here's the thing. Bufa wants to do the draft here with me in my apartment. I was like, well, I thought you would be live. He's like, well, I may get kicked out, so I might have to live with you. So, James, Chase Brown is better. I was thinking of other players. Why am I drawing a blank? JMO, young man, $1 million. Exactly. I really firmly believe that Jameson would. I really would like it if more Lions fans were mad at Jameson Williams. But if I was the Lions organization, I would jump out in front of this and say, as an organization, we're going to do more to promote player education on what to do and what not to do, because this was our fault as an organization, and that might, by the way, if you do something like that, that might incur a fine. The thing is, though, teams and the NFL have classes. The rookie symposium goes over all this stuff in detail. Now, look, I'm going to tell you something. You take a bunch of I think it's like 300 and some players attend a rookie symposium. You put these all in a classroom, you put somebody up on a stage, and you have them lecture you for 45 minutes. It's very easy when you're 20, 21 years old. I probably would not remember every little detail, but this is something that he should have been aware of. Yeah, I agree with you, Perry. A Chase Brown video. I'm sorry, James. I am drawing a complete blank on Chase. Oh, the running back out of Illinois. Okay, yeah, I've been seeing like fourth round. I've all my mock drafts have just been one round, so I haven't been watching Chase Brown. But he's a guy later in the draft he's going to get drafted third, fourth, fifth round, and so he's going to make the NFL. He's going to make an NFL roster, and he's probably going to play a little bit. Keys, most teams in the middle of the pack are in that world. The Vikings won 10 games by one score and lost and lost a few like that. Seriously, I bet if you look, all mid teams are like that. Nobody really knows, Harry. I honestly would not have an issue if the Colts were all in on Levis. But the thing is, though, do you take him at 4 or do you trade down? I don't think that the Texans are high on CJ Stroud. But I could see the Colts right there in Big Ten country. If CJ Stroud's at 2, I don't think it's inconceivable for the Colts and the Texans to make a move. I really don't. One thing about the Colts general manager, Chris Ballard, he was with the Chiefs organization. He was the assistant general manager for the Kansas City Chiefs when they made the trade for Patrick Mahomes. So he's used to making a big trade. He's already done it. He's seen how drafting a franchise quarterback, the correct franchise quarterback, can affect your team. So I think that moving from 4 to 2 is not outside the realm of possibility. I really think that he wanted to trade up to 1, and it just didn't work out. So for him to go 4 to 2 or even 4 to 3 is not outside the realm of possibility. Now, let's just say Stroud and Young go, and Levis is your guy. Do you take him at 4? Sure. We don't know. We really don't know. I've been mocking Richardson, but if CJ Stroud's available and the Texans don't like him, it wouldn't surprise me if these two teams flipped. The Texans at 4 could go defensive line, and then maybe the Texans at 12 say, hey, look, we'll take Richardson, Hooker, Levis. And the thing with the Houston Texans, they got Case Keenum. He's been a starting quarterback in the NFL before. You got Davis Mills, who I personally am very high on. I would have no problem that the Texans say, you know what? We're going to draft a quarterback at 12. Levis, Richardson, Hendon Hooker, but we're going to roll Davis Mills year 1 and then use pick number 2 to take the best available defensive prospect that would fit your defense. Maybe it's Jalen Carter. We don't know. We really don't know. And that's the fun thing. Aaron has Anthony Richardson over Bryce Young. Where Bryce Young right now, a lot of people think he's going to go number 1. We don't know. That's a great thing about the draft. I'm really, holy crap, I am behind on comments. I'm sorry. Calvin Johnson needs to hang out with Jameson Hall of Fame. But yes. That's a guy I'm very high on. Not going in the first round, player I really like. Jones, Sun God, Josh R. Raymond. Hopefully. I always like that logo. You know what though? I'll be honest with you. When the Broncos changed their logo, I was like, oh, God. But I thought it was pretty cool. Some people think that he's going to go before Jalen Hyatt, and I've seen a few mocks where he goes late. I saw one where he goes to Kansas City at 31. I wouldn't be mad at that either. Yeah. I'm so glad you're here, Aaron. That just makes my day here. I think he does. I think he does too. And seriously, I had a mock trade with Jameson Williams, which I kind of want to just throw out the window now. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, you still have Josh Reynolds. He's not a bad player to have either. Josh Reynolds is a very solid player. I like Josh Reynolds. I think it's going to be hard to make the playoffs. So, Alex, I don't think they're winning that division. Plus, I think those battle last you thought. Seriously, so when I had Luke G on, he said he thought it was too soon, too early to tell AFC versus NFC. But I think the AFC is significantly better. I mean, you got teams like Pittsburgh, New England. Cleveland's making some really good moves. They're going to have Deshaun Watson for the whole year. The Jets, when they get Aaron Rodgers, I feel J-Mo may not. Seriously, it wouldn't surprise me if the Lions just get rid of him, ship him out for like a 6th-round pick in a year or two. Just say, hey, look, first injury, because it depending on how long you've been with me, Lions fans were telling me he's going to play like week 6, and I don't think they're just pulling out their ass. I think Lions thought that maybe he was coming back a little sooner, then didn't work out. And by the way, he had some highlight reels, but he dropped some passes. You weren't getting a guy who was like the 12th pick in the draft. Now you have this. So I just see a Chase Brown video, and yeah, he seems running. Yeah, he's a very, very, very good player. A.T. Perry's also a very good player. These are mid-round guys though. So you're not wrong about that. Funk was trying to find a list. I want to say the Lions were in those top 5, 6 totals, and I agree. I'm not blowing off the comments. I just didn't realize I'm like 20 minutes behind. I am so sorry for that. Casey was first, Kinsey. Yeah. Oh man, Denver Gators in the house. Denver Gators in that, man, dude. I'm behind on my comments, man. God, I'm great to see you, man. Perry would be a good fit. Isn't it a great movie? If you haven't seen Goodfellas, I almost encourage you to stop watching this and go watch Goodfellas, one of my all-time favorite movies. But all these guys are really good receivers. A.T. Perry's probably going in the 3rd. Jalen Hyatt and Tillman could go late 1st or 2nd. But if one of these, here's the thing, if Tillman or Hyatt's available at 48, I think the Detroit Lions have to seriously consider things. Hey, Hill was in the mo, i.e. plays the guy who shoots the guy in between the 2 cars. Gracie put him in to look, put him in to get the look at the hit right. Hey, Hill was he actually in the movie? He plays the guy who shoots the guy in between the 2 cars. Really? I didn't know that. I didn't know Henry Hill was actually in the movie. He shoots the guy in between the 2 cars. I'm trying to think of the scene here because it's not the scene in Casino, which is my all time favorite movie. I kind of want to watch Goodfellas now. Love that movie. Casino is my all time favorite movie, but I also love Goodfellas. It's kind of funny because if you see Goodfellas first, then you don't like Casino as much. Goodfellas came out before Casino, but I saw Casino before I saw Goodfellas. So, I've missed Alex quite a bit. By the way, follow Alex on Twitter. He has some really good shit. He was making fun of the Arizona Cardinals. By the way, the Cardinals uniforms are really bad. I've not hit up Corey to Red Sea to be like these suck, but they do. That's actually a really good candidate because if the Lions defense is bad, like they were this year, and their offense is better, and there's a very strong chance that the offense could be better, it's a solid dark horse MVP. There's a lot of things to like about the Colts. Remember Jonathan Taylor, remember he blew up is 2 years ago. He had over 1,800 yards. And by the way, he never missed a practice, like junior high, high school, college, NFL. And then he missed like several games. So, I mean, if he comes back at 100%, can't believe I'm forgetting the guy's name, the wide receiver, Tillman. I can't believe I'm forgetting the guy's name. I'm so embarrassed. It's not Cedric Tillman, the wide receiver out of USC. I'm so embarrassed. I can't believe it. Pittman. God, I'm embarrassed. So they got Michael Pittman. They got Alex Pierce. Jelani Woods was a 3rd-round pick. Had all sorts of. There's talent on this team. The only thing the only thing they have missing is quarterback. So, and it'll be interesting because they got Gardner Minshew. How good can Minshew play? So, I think Bit was ill. I know one of the real mobsters that was on the set. But yeah, well, Scorsese did a lot of interesting things in I want to say Nikki's mom, but it's not Nikki. Nikki is Pesci's character in Casino. Is it also Nikki in Goodfellas? Joe Pesci, the one who plays his mom, that's actually Scorsese's mom. So I mocked Bijan Robinson to Detroit at 6, and I think it could happen. I really, really think it could happen. I think Hooker could be the best quarterback in the draft, and I think there has to be a lot of external factors to go right. But I mocked Levis to Minnesota at 23, and he takes over at 2024. But I mean, Levis, with all the talent in Minnesota under a rookie deal, you get that defense squared away. Who knows what happens? So. Hooker's an interesting thing because, you have no idea where he's going. And the problem with Minnesota is they only have 5 draft picks. So at 20, it's really hard for them to trade up. Yeah, Todd Gurley was the best running back in football when they went to the Super Bowl. Then he was injured in, I think it was before the championship game, if I remember correctly. Todd Gurley, really good player. The Jones kid from Purdue's in it. Yeah, that's another guy really interesting for the mid rounds. Robinson's going to be such a fun guy because he could go all 3 levels in the first round. He can go 1 to single digits. He can go top 9. He can go in the middle rounds. I think the absolute lowest he goes is 21 to the Chargers. And I think if he's available at 21, if the Chargers didn't want him, I could see a team trading up. So Denver makes it there. I can see it too. Todd Gurley went 10th. I could see Robinson going 6th to the Lions. No, it is not. Slasher, welcome, brother. Welcome, brother. Yeah, we talked about this. So what I do every year, I take the 32 teams and I just simply just go plus and minus, and then some are the same. It's a very simple system, and then I just kind of adapt it. And what I might do is I might actually put this on a spreadsheet, do a video about it one day. But this is just what I do for all 32 teams, just kind of keep an idea of, plus or minus. And sometimes it works out where I have a plus, but they don't win as many games, but I think they're a better team. It's rare that happens, but it does happen. Sometimes you could be a team that wins 12 games and you're a better team, but you only win 10. Hopefully that made sense. So another thing is when you win more, strength of schedule goes up. That's why win 10. Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing. The Lions are playing a last place schedule. Now they're playing a second place schedule. So I apologize. My phone's just blowing up. So it might be people donating to my OnlyFans. So I'm still not worried about the kid. I think there has to be some legitimate concerns. So but I think that one, there's going to be an appeal, and two, I believe he's not banned from the facility. I think he can still practice and work out. And unlike the injury, when he gets reinstated, he'll be able to come in and be a full participant in the offense, not just used on a limited basis. So like there is a little difference, but it'll be interesting because I could see the Lions saying, look, we're just going to try to get rid of this kid, or the Lions say, hey, look, you're still our guy. You did something dumb. Make up for it. It could also, let's just say he blows up, right? In those, let's just say 11 games. Puts up great numbers, and then the next year he plays like a Pro Bowl wide receiver. Maybe he signs on with Detroit for contract number 2 for a lot less, gives him a hometown discount. I've been waiting for 2023 since the Stafford trade this year. We finally completely cashed it. Yeah, and seriously, that's why in my final mock draft, or I'm sorry, two drafts ago, that's why I went Hendon Hooker at 6, because you get to cash in, get your guy now, get your quarterback now. You pick 6, take Hendon Hooker, and you could also use that Hendon Hooker as possible trade candidate. Hey, look, there's a team that wants him. Well, what are you willing to give up? Well, let's say Tampa Bay. All right, let's say Tampa Bay, for example. Well, what about Mike Evans? Devin White would look really good in a Lions uniform. He's asked for a trade. I think it's contract related, so you may not be able to afford him, but there's some wiggle room there. You can draft a guy like Hendon Hooker at 6, and you can say, okay, listen, he doesn't have to stay in Detroit, guys. But we've been talking about this. We thought this would be the year you draft the quarterback because you have the trade capital to do so. So this is why the Lions are so much fun at 6, because you can go John Robinson. My final draft, I did Miles Murphy, a little rich at 6, but Miles Murphy in the Lions defense would be a lot of fun. He's a really good player. You can go Joey Porter Jr., Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon. You can go all those players, and it makes sense. All right. Jalen Carter, if he's available. And you can also go quarterback. I think I just went, what did I go through? 10 different players. So, yeah. I want Detroit to be Mr. Robinson neighborhood, David Robinson to be unstoppable and to keep our defense. I seriously, you know what the funny thing is? But John Robinson might possibly be available at 18. I've been mocking him 8 to Atlanta, which makes a lot of sense to me. because they invested so much free agent money and just they got a bunch of new bodies on that defense. The player that can help improve the offense more than any other player would be the John Robinson. That's why it makes sense to me. But it'll be very interesting. I mean, Atlanta's an interesting team, but Atlanta at 8, I think, is a series. I really think that I really don't believe Robinson's going to Detroit at 6, but he could. I think Atlanta is where you get very serious about Robinson going. I think Atlanta at 8. That's like where I think the Robinson clock starts ticking. But I would love to see Robinson go to Detroit at 6. I think it'd be a great pick. And then what do you do at 18? But here's the deal. You have a really good offense, you have a really bad defense, and you pick 6. Do you want to use it on a running back when you just signed David Montgomery from the Bears, who I think is an upgrade over Williams, a small one, but it is an upgrade. But you're right. I'm glad you. God, am I that behind? Oh, I am really sorry, guys. I did not realize I was this behind on the neighborhood. But you're right. It's easy to bite other teams' kneecaps when you're a hunter, but once you become, it is completely different mindset. It would be 1 year wasted on injuries, another half on gambling. Lions don't even know what they have. Exactly. And when he did play, he didn't look like he was the 12th player in the draft. He did not look like that elite player. Jameer Dotson for Washington looked a lot better. And he was chosen 15. So I really think it's a very big issue. Because remember, you traded up from 32 to get him, and I remember I gave the Lions a bad draft grade. By the way, here's how it's going to work: live mock draft Tuesday, live Thursday, live draft grade show Monday. And I need to update my YouTube page. That's how it's going. Keys, what's funny is the Lions' strength of schedule is easier going into this year going into last year. Mr. Robinson neighborhood dude. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. Oh God. Oh God. Back when Saturday Night Live was funny. So when Travis Kelce, that was like first time. So anyway, I have YouTube TV, so you can watch all of Saturday Night Live's episodes. And earlier this year, Steve Martin and Martin Short and they were on the show, and the girl, very attractive lady, Selena Gomez. She did so I watched that. It was okay, but I mean, and I watched that. So then they had Molly Shannon on Saturday Night Live a few episodes later, and I was like, well, let's check this out, because God, she was pretty underrated. But like when she was on Saturday Night Live, it was funny. I don't think I got halfway through, and it was so disappointing. But Mr. Robinson neighborhood, oh God, that was so. If you're my age, you started watching Saturday Night Live when Eddie Murphy was on Saturday Night Live, and that was like just. When Eddie Murphy was doing Mr. Robinson neighborhood, do you remember the skit where he dressed up as a white guy? That was that's like that's like Saturday Night Live at its absolute, well, maybe not its best, but like that's when I started watching it. It was just like fall down funny, and you watch it now, it's like you almost cringe. It's just Well, the good thing is they lost a chunk of contract guarantees. So I think at the end of the day, it's advantage to the team. Did you miss the actual schedule getting? I believe that's going to come in mid-May. So I think Holmes took a risk. Best wide receiver were already gone. I did not like it because if you would have stayed at 32, you could have got Christian Watson. I remember just really hating it, but that draft ended up being a really good draft. So. Not talking about the list of home and away teams, talking about the actual schedule. It's going to come out in a couple of weeks, and I may do a lot. I have to figure out what I'm going to do. I may just break down the Chiefs schedule. I may just, I don't know. I have to figure that out, but it's going to come. the NFL hasn't announced an actual day yet. Usually it comes around May. So I do not. I've been hearing from people I respect that it's going to be Bryce Young. And I've been mocking CJ Stroud. I've been mocking CJ Stroud, but I honestly believe that now it's going to be Bryce Young. I think it's going to be one of those two. Maurice Jones-Drew of the NFL Network released his latest mock draft on the NFL. You can go to NFL.com. He has Anthony Richardson going number 1. Bottom line, Carolina knows who they're taking, and I think they knew all along. And I had my number 1 quarterback, CJ Stroud. But when they made this move, it wasn't, well, now we're going to figure it out. No, they knew before they made the trade. They knew who their guy was because they gave up a lot. But they knew who their guy was, and they just haven't told anybody yet. So. Goff can't get him. While you're at, did you know NFL players are not allowed to bet on NCAA games? Trying to, you know what, off the top of my head, I don't know if I knew that or not, to be honest with you. The one thing I will tell you is that the NFL and each individual team has meetings with the players regarding the rules. It's really strange too, because you can go to GNC, right? And you could just buy stuff. Me and you can go to GNC and buy products that you would fail an NFL drug test. All right. I don't know the specifics, but there's over-the-counter items. There was one player, he missed 4 games because he was taking something for fertility. Him and his wife were trying to have a baby, and he took something. It violated he ended up missing 4 games. These are things that you should know, but they're uncommon things, and they're things that are different with the NFL than they are like normal jobs. Like I said, me and you can go to GNC right now, buy something that would fail in an NFL drug test. Look, I'm not disagreeing with the rules. All right, I'm not saying that. But here's the thing: they know that, and it's their responsibility. I think Lions fans should not be mad at the NFL. I think they should be mad at Jameson Williams. And what I saw was that him and his agent just came out and said, he takes full responsibility. If I'm a Lions fan, I'm mad at Williams. I'm not mad at the NFL. If I'm the Lions, I try to jump in front of this. And as far as the rules, there's a lot of things that are wrong. A lot of things I would change, but it is what it is. Goff was second behind Jalen Hurts in explosive plays, or in other words, passes completed over 15 yards. The 2 passes made up half of Jameson Williams' stats. Where Jameson Williams had 1 end around for like 40 yards and a touchdown, and 1 reception for 40 yards and a touchdown, but he played in like 6 or 7 games. It's just that how much were they really planning on him being part of the offense? When I was going into the season, I was really thinking that you had Amon-Ra your 1, and then Jameson was going to be your 2. And so you're missing a very key weapon. And by the way, Cephas was a guy who played like on special teams. He was a solid player. He's gone now. So, you have multiple holes at that wide receiver position. So. if you pick Young, you better have a good O-line to protect him and good weapons around him. And that's true for any quarterback. One thing though is that Carolina does have a good young offensive line. They gave Miles Sanders a lot of money. They do have some other weapons, but I mean, their main one was DJ Moore, which they had to give up. I think that Carolina situation is set up. If whoever gets drafted by Carolina at 1, I don't think you can be like a 12-13 win team, but I think you could be successful down the line because I think that NFC South division's sort of up for grabs. I really like what the Saints are doing. Now, keep in mind, Alvin Kamara's going to miss some time. The defense is kind of aging a little bit. Cam Jordan, I think, is going to be 33. Demario Davis, I think, is 34, even though they're both playing at a very high level. I don't know if they can or can't. I imagine that they should. If they can, they will. And I just found this out earlier today. So the more we'll talk about more in some detail. But I'm Lions fans. I want to hear what you think. Personally, here's what I think. I think Jameson Williams did something wrong. I think this really affects the Lions organization. And I think it affects the draft because I'm looking at the Lions draft, and now I think at 18, I wouldn't have considered wide receiver before this. I'm considering wide receiver now. So, because they can bet on him. Yeah. So here's the thing. It's not what he did. All right. So here's the drill. It's not what he did. It was where he did it at. And here's the thing. There should be signs. There should be notifications. He should have known this. And if he didn't know it, then I would like to see the Lions organization and I would like to see Dan Campbell come out and say, you know what? I'm the coach. I'm in charge. I'm the leader. I should have done a better job informing these guys what they can and cannot do in the facility. That's what I would like to see. But bottom line, I mean, he should have known. I think the rule is stupid. But let me make that clear. But I can't help but just think this is a negative. It is a negative. And you know what? Maybe you're right. I mean, maybe you're right. But it is a big negative, and I think it now affects the Lions in the draft because if I'm the Lions. At pick number 18, I now have to consider wide receiver where I would not have considered wide receiver before. And Cephas is another loss. That was a guy who played some. He's specialty. He's a player I really liked coming out of Wisconsin. He was one of those guys that I was like, God, you're not really an NFL player, but God, you're a really good, really fun player to watch. The only teams I want to draft Levis, especially over AR. That one catch, J-Mo had to stop and wait for the ball. Goff was underthrowing him on every throw except for that one sideline when he was covered. It's going to be interesting. There's a part of me that wonders after the season's over, if you're the Lions, if you just say, hey, anybody want to take Jameson for a 6? And then there's another part of me that says, okay, look, we're going to give him every opportunity. And here's the deal. If you want to move on from him, let's say 18 comes around and there's not a wide receiver drafted. What do? You take your guy? So I didn't know that about the agent, but I just got the impression if Bryce Young goes number 1, I don't think the Texans are going to take Stroud at 2. That's why in my final mock I did a 2-4 flip. And to me the 2-4 flip makes sense because I could see Indianapolis right there in the middle of Big Ten country saying, yeah, we'll take CJ Stroud at 2 if you don't want him. What do you want? And honestly, let's seriously, here's what I mocked, and you may want more than this. 4-35. So you're the Houston Texans, you go from 2 to 4, right? And you get the 35th pick in the draft. It's not bad because you pick 33rd. And I've been mocking a 33-26 trade with Dallas because they already traded, they already traded with Dallas earlier. Wide receiver. Another name freeze. Oh God. Oregon State. Brandon Cooks. Okay. Brandon Cooks is now with Dallas, so I could see Dallas and the Texans. And the reason why is I'm sorry, yeah, I could see Dallas and the Texans trading because I could see Dallas falling in love with Steve Avila, the guard out of TCU, who I think could go in the second round. So what you do is you make a trade with Houston. Houston comes back in the first round, 26, and they could take a wide receiver. So, and I seriously, it wouldn't surprise me if so the way I had my final mock is I had Hendon Hooker to Houston at 10 because I could see Philly wanting to trade down. So what Houston would do would pick at 4 and they would pick at 35. So they would have picks number 33 and 35, really, really good draft picks. Really, really good draft picks. And you would also pick at 4. So at 4, you pick Tyree Wilson, and then you get Hendon Hooker at 10. What team do you think makes a reach or a big reach? I think Dallas is in love with Dalton Kincaid. I could see him move the Dalton Kincaid. I think Kansas City's a team that could trade up. I'm looking specifically at Baltimore at 22. So 31 to 22. I don't know if you would consider that a big reach. Minnesota is a team that could trade up or down, but if they trade up, it would be for a quarterback. I don't know how high they would trade up. New England at 14 is going to trade down, so I could look at a team like Tampa Bay and Minnesota maybe trading up the 14 with New England. I did a trade with New England and the Chargers at 21 where Austin Eckler was involved. I just thought that was just kind of fun. As far as a big reach, I don't know if you would consider it a big reach, but a team like Kansas City could go up 31 to 22. 22s were Baltimore picks, and Baltimore doesn't have a second-round pick. They only have 5 picks in the draft. So I could see Kansas City going from 31 to 22. And I think Kansas City would take a wide receiver, but they could also take an edge rusher too. I'm trying to think of if you want a big trade up. A team that could make a big trade up would be Atlanta to get back into round 1. I could see Atlanta getting back into round 1. Maybe where Dallas picks at 26. Buffalo is a team that could outside maybe make a big reach because last year I think that they really wanted Trent McDuffie. And, there was no way New England was going to trade with Buffalo, but New England traded with Kansas City. So, yeah. Lance destinations, Texans, or Titans, Washington, Texans, Colts, teams that won't give up maybe second. That's actually very interesting. Now keep in mind, this is just my opinion. I don't, because Brock Purdy is still undergoing surgery. So I think Lance is going to get every opportunity to play. But it would not surprise me if Lance ends up beating them out if they have to move on. And you may not even give up a second. You may just give up a third and just say, hey, look, we swung, we missed. We're going to bring in a veteran. All these teams are possible. All these teams are possible. Trying to think of anybody you didn't mention. And the only other team I would say that you didn't mention, and it's only if something else happens, would be Baltimore. That would be it. And hey, if you're Baltimore and you get a taker, and you get some extra draft capital. By the way, I think Lamar Jackson stays in Baltimore, but let's just say it doesn't. Lamar Jackson goes. If I'm Baltimore, now keep in mind they don't have a second round pick, but if you're getting an extra first, I would call up San Francisco and be like, hey, call me. But yeah, I agree with all these, but I think Lance is going to get a legitimate opportunity to be the starting quarterback in 2023. But I think he'll be on a very short leash. But yeah, Lions could look. I like Perry. I've been saying for a minute I wouldn't mind Hyatt, Perry, and Jones on day 2. All those guys would be good fits. Trey Palmer is a Brandon Cooks clone. For those of you that don't know, Trey Palmer, Nebraska wide receiver, track guy. I want to quote you 4.33 at the combine. I don't know if that's correct. Tape's not overly impressive, to be honest with you, but the potential's there. Did the Lions bring in Perry for a visit or talk to him in the combine? Well, we're gonna find out, because if he plays and he plays good, you may be able to get a first. You might be able to get a first. But here's the deal. He's going to be the starting quarterback going into 2023. At least that's my prediction. But I think he'll be on a very short leash. Lance, I think, will be healthy around preseason, maybe. It'll be interesting. I'm going to pay close attention, because I think that this is going to be a battle. They're going to give the nod to Lance, and they're going to give him an opportunity. But what do I think you can get? You may be able to get a late first. Remember Atlanta drafted Favre in the second, and they got a first-round pick from Green Bay. And at the time, people were like, boy, Atlanta just swindled Green Bay. It turned out to be a good move by Green Bay, but you never know. You really never know. I think legitimately you could see a low second, maybe a third, not this year, but next year's draft. Yeah, I think he's going to get a chance this year, but it wouldn't surprise me if next year we're having this conversation. So, the talent is here. Dude, Gooch, Aaron was here earlier on his lunch break. Keys is here still. Yeah. All right, I'm going to say something that's going to piss some people off. I've never seen The Godfather. All right, never seen it. All right, here's the drill. Here's the deal. I took I'm going to call it theater. They had some name for it. It was my senior year. It was a blow-off class. And we had to watch the edited version that the teacher fast-forwarded through, like, anything that was like PG-13. And we were forced to watch it in class, and I sat in the back, and it was really funny because I there was this one guy, I wouldn't call us friends, but we had the exact same schedule, and so, like, we ditched school together, and it was funny. I used to be a blackjack dealer. I ran into him. He sat at my table. It's like, man, what the fuck? And so we watched, like, I don't think we got through the whole movie. I think too many people were acting like we're acting out. So I never watched it, and I should. I really should, but I've never watched it. I'm embarrassed to admit that, because I love mobster movies. I love gangster movies, but I've never seen The Godfather, and I've never seen 2 or 3. Where do where would be a good fit? If they can't come out with a deal, would be Baltimore. Baltimore would be a great fit. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Lance is going to get a chance this year, but he's going to be on a short leash. If he doesn't play well, we could be talking about this. Could he be traded midseason? Absolutely. Remember, Jimmy Garoppolo was traded midseason. I love the Back Dog Bros taking over here, man. I've never seen Way of the Gun. I've never seen that movie. God, there's like 4 movies I want to watch now. Slasher says Eagle will take the John Robinson at 10 and Steve Smith at 30. There's no way I can pronounce that name. I think the Eagles trade down maybe 10 and 30, and they don't have a pick in rounds 4, 5, and 6. So I really think that they're going to trade down quite a bit in this draft. But they signed Rashad Penny to a 1-year deal, and that could be a steal. But John Robinson at 10 is fun. Tome Abadore, I'm probably butchering that. On film, 3rd, 4th round player after the combine. People are talking about him late in the first. I think that would be a really interesting spot. 30, a reach, but I like it because you have Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox on 1-year deals. So 3rd round, that would be a good pick. Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis is a good gangster movie. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That movie sounds so familiar. No, I haven't seen it. Okay, so you know, it's funny. I have Plex, and I have it saved to a watch list, but I have not seen it. I've not seen it. I've not seen this either. Spudweb clone Vaughn. So Vaughn is his name's Deuce Vaughn out of K-State. Fun guy to watch. 4th, 5th, maybe 6th round. Fun player. Punt, kick, return specialist. Goes to the right team, could be a lot of fun. If the defense is better and the offense is even better. Golf absolutely. By the way, I'm going to say this right now. I think Golf absolutely is an MVP candidate. Absolutely. Because I think that when you have a talented offense and a weak defense, no offense, you have a chance to put up numbers. And I think the offense took a while to get going. And it was a little inconsistent. But is Golf an MVP candidate? Absolutely, because Amon-Ra St. Brown is a legitimate number 1 receiver. You have some weapons. You have a great offensive line. If your offensive line improves and is in, I mean, what would you rank them? Like top 5? So you have a good offensive line. In that division, Minnesota, Chicago, Green Bay, you got 3 pretty bad defenses. I'm not joking when I say this. I'm not joking when I say this. In those 6 division games, 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns. All right. So what do you do in the other 11? I mean that could be enough. Slasher says Lions take Tyree Wilson at 6. I could see that. I could see that. Absolutely could see that. Yeah, I just wish there was more the talent, and I wish it was like if I find one like one of those WWE belts that says the talent on it, like that's what I want. Like I would mail that to you, but I love the talent. Seriously, I wish I'm hearing these cleared medically, but this is, by the way, one of my favorite players in the draft, Deonte Banks, aced the combine. And after he aced the combine, I started watching more and more of him. And the more I watch him, the more I like him. Deonte Banks at 18 makes a lot of sense, actually. Really, really, really good corner. One Pride 40 doesn't like it. If Wilson's 100% from reports are like, I saw a mock draft where he goes number 2 to Houston. Houston says we're gonna pass on CJ Stroud. We're gonna take Tyree Wilson, plug and play. He's going to be a monster, and then we'll get our quarterback at 12. And if Bryce Young goes 1, don't be surprised if Houston takes Wilson at 2. But if CJ Stroud goes 1, I think Bryce Young goes 2. But I'm not jumping on Banks in the first round bandwagon. Dude won from first round to first round after a combine, maybe early. I actually think Banks goes first round. And I'll tell you why. NFL teams are loving that he did a lot of different things. And he did a lot of different things pretty well. And then the combine showed that he had the athleticism to be a first round. But you're right. If you looked at film, he's a second, third round dude. And after the combine, people are jumping on. But the stock's skyrocketing. And plus he wasn't asked just to do one thing. He was man, zone, a lot of different coverages, big, physical, fast playmaker. I think he definitely goes in the first round. Maybe definite's too strong of a word. Corner's an interesting thing because there could be 3 corners that go in the first round. There could be 7. And it's a crazy draft, but I think Banks will go in the first round. If I had to put money on Banks going in the first round, I'd say yeah. Detroit at 18, I didn't mock that personally, but I don't hate it. He's a guy that I don't think he's an inside-outside guy like Witherspoon or Gonzalez. I don't think Gonzalez played a lot inside, but I think he could. Witherspoon can play inside-outside. That's why I really like Witherspoon in Detroit, because I think you can get kind of creative with the guy. Banks is not that type of guy. So, but at 18, I could see it. You at 6 you would have to go D line. I think if you do Banks at 18 might be a little rich, but I could see it. Vikings need to trade down and get more picks from next year. See, I agree with that. And I could also see the flip side where they just say, you know what? Okay, so here's the deal. They don't pick in the second round. So they pick first, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and that's it. Here's what they could do. They could say, you know what? We're going to go all in. We're going to trade up. We're going to take our quarterback, Levis, Anthony Richardson, Hooker, whoever, and we're going to just kind of build, for 2024 we're going to make sure Justin Jefferson signs a really super rich contract. We're going to take care of Justin Jefferson, get him with his new rookie quarterback, with the money we save on Cousins. We're going to build around the young kid. I could see that happening. I could also see Minnesota saying, you know what, we're going to trade down, we're going to get some picks, we're going to build around Cousins, win a Super Bowl, and then we'll worry about the quarterback later on. But the thing is, if Minnesota was sold, they would have Cousins on a long-term deal, and they don't. So I 23, if Levis is available at 23, I kind of expect that to be the pick. That kind of bothered me too, because if he was really a competitive guy and he was cleared, I would be like, hey, you know what? Let me show you what I can do. Because the film looks fantastic. And now one thing Luke said is I was inconsistent, but here's the deal. If you explode on tape just enough that tantalize an NFL coach, NFL coaches, if they see an explosion, they go, I can get that out of him every play. As soon as I coach him up, he'll do that every play. And that's what I see NFL teams doing. Like I could see him at Detroit, and I can see them just putting him and saying, hey, listen, you know that explosive play that you did? We're going to have you do that every day. And here's the thing about Detroit. You put Hutchinson up on the opposite side of Tyree Wilson, and Tyree Wilson doesn't give the same effort as Hutchinson, I think that would be a kind of a motivating factor for him. I think he'd be like, hey, listen, I want to work that hard because I'm more athletically gifted than Hutchinson, so I should be able to do more. And hopefully he feels that way, and you could have a very dominant defensive line. So I kind of agree with Dan now. I don't think Cam Sutton's going to be a good thrust into a starting role. Banks will be good. He needs to sit and learn the scheme. See, the thing with Banks is that if you draft Banks at 18 and you ask him to start, I'd be like, ooh. But if you draft Banks at 18 and you're like, okay, listen, you're going to be a special teams demon. We're going to play you, dime situations at first. I have no idea how they're going to use CJGJ. Hopefully you got that. I don't know if he's going to be a safety, if he's going to be a nickel, if he's going to do both. And then, but if you ease Banks in that situation, then he's your starter next year. And I think Mosley's a guy that can go inside, outside. I think he did that for San Francisco. I'd be lying to you if I said I knew that absolute fact. But I believe that's what they did in San Francisco, use them inside, outside. But Banks is a guy, massive upside. Massive upside. So could be. He could be. I don't believe Wilson's 100%, but I'm going off reports that he probably isn't actually 100. Doesn't want. A lot of times what agents do is agents will come in and they'll say, listen, we talked to NFL teams. You're going top 10. All you can do is hurt your draft stock. So just don't do anything. And I think with Wilson, that could be the case because as of right now, he's probably going top 10. And if he has a unimpressive workout, then it could hurt his draft stock rather than help. So that's kind of why that's kind of my thought process. But I like players that want to compete. So yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Purdy and Donner and Ross Lance is as highest value in mine. I don't think so because I think Lance is going to start, and then you have Darnold as the backup. I mean that's the reason why you bought Darnold in is to be the backup because Purdy's probably not going to be ready right away. And if Purdy is ready right away, Darnold because he has starting experience, you can use him as trade capital, or you can have him as the number 2 guy. But the plan is to have Lance start. I mean, that's been the plan all along, but he's going to be on a very short leash because you got Darnold and Purdy, guys that have started. Darnold has not done well, but he has started. He has some upside and some experience. But the plan is to have Lance start, but I think he's going to be on a very, very short leash. And remember, Jimmy G was traded midseason. You can trade midseason. There's nothing stopping you. There could be a team that quarterback goes down and you need a guy. I can't believe I'm forgetting the name. I'm so embarrassed. Has another concussion. Miami. Oh God, I'm so embarrassed. I am so embarrassed. I can't believe I'm forgetting this. Anyway, starting quarterback goes down. Maybe trade Trey Lance midseason. I'm so embarrassed. No, and so he's going to get an opportunity. Can JMO predict and everything until the final? Okay, so okay, that's awesome. Can he participate in practice, or does he have to be excused from the facility? I don't know those details. If you do, please let me know. Dan, just clarify, you're saying plus or minus based on the improvement lack from previous year. I might include that in my phone. Okay. So no. Total. Okay, like for example, the Steelers towards the end, because Roethlisberger was like 74. When they had if there's an aging team, a team with a lot of veterans, I'll give them a minus. All right. a young team, a team that, like Kansas City started, a bunch of rookies last year, they may get a positive. A team that lost a lot in free agency will get a negative. A team that added in free agency may get a lot of plus. A lot of times what I'll do is I just look at a team and it's like, okay, well, this is an aging team. There's a lot of veterans over 30. Like the Saints, for example, now before they signed Derek Carr, I was going to give the Saints a negative because their two best defensive players are Cameron Jordan and Demario Davis. And I think Jordan's going to be 33. Demario Davis is going to be 34. The Honey Badgers, probably best days are behind them also. So that team I was going to give a negative to. But then, they signed Derek Carr, and I'm like, okay, all right. They signed some players on defense. They did lose one of their players. So there's other factors involved. Kansas City, I gave just like a negative to because they lost some starters, some key starters in key positions. So, but I just when I look at a team, the teams that didn't make the playoffs, I do plus and minus right at the end of the regular season. So, like for example, the Cardinals, if they lose DeAndre Hopkins and Budda Baker, they obviously get a negative. Keys, if that's not good enough, you got all my information. You can always hit me up. I need to find out that information, and I don't know that because I want to find out, can he play in preseason? Can he go to practice? There's a lot of things I want to know before. But this is I do think it's a bad thing, and I do think the Lions have to consider a replacement. It's going to be very interesting because the Lions now at 6 was always a big question mark. Now at 18, I have to factor in wide receiver at pick number 18. So when I go live, me and Buffa, we're going to be here live. We're going to go, hey, do the Lions want to take a receiver here at 18? Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't disagree, DG, but it's hard for a front office not to be signed by the sunk lost fallacy, and he's talking about the Lance value. No way I get that close to the value of Pickle back in the – yeah, I mean – you got to remember, the 49ers gave up a lot of draft capital to get up the Lance. They gave up, I think it was 3 number ones to get him, so they're just not going to let him go. They can do a lot of things, though. I originally so here's the deal. I was thinking that, but I was also thinking because remember they traded for Okudah, so I'm thinking my thought process today. Right now is AJ Terrell and Okudah are going to be their 2 guys. That's kind of what I was thinking. But could they make a push for Witherspoon and Gonzalez? Absolutely. Pride, I'm pretty sure everything until the final cut day would include. Okay, so that's okay. I still would like to get some more information. I think the Cowboys need to trade up for Robinson. I think the Cowboys are in love with Dalton Kincaid. I really, really believe that. And I think that 14 at New England, because I think New England really wants to trade down. And 26 to 14, I tried to mock that trade. I couldn't get it to work. But if you're Tampa Bay at 19 and you don't want to take a quarterback, could you trade down to 26 if Dalton Kincaid's available? Absolutely. Absolutely. Dan, if Kansas City doesn't go wide receiver in the first round, who do you think would like to see them go? I actually would love Michael Mayer or Dalton Kincaid, the tight end. I wouldn't mind that at all. Maurice Jones-Drew in his mock draft had Keon White, who's one of my big-time draft crushes, go to Kansas City at 31. And if Keon White went to Kansas City at 31, I would probably go streaking. I would go streaking because I think Keon White could be like 10 years from now we're going, this is a no-brainer. How do you go? I've been mocking him 25. Keon White, I would love to come to Kansas City. So I really, really think, and here's the thing with Keon White, if you're not familiar with him, Keon White in Kansas City, I don't know where he plays because he could be a defensive tackle. But I think if he went to Kansas City, he would play defensive end on first and second down, and then he would move inside on obvious passing situations. He's a massive dude who has so much upside, and I've seen it when at the very beginning of draft season he was going top 10, and he didn't participate in the combine. I think he had like a hamstring, and I don't think he participated at his pro day. He's been free falling in mock drafts. Maurice Jones-Drew works for the NFL Network, had him going 31 Kansas City. Keon White, if you want to comp J.J. Watt, I think he could be that dominant. I think that. So so what's going to happen is Thursday, I'm going to talk about some of my draft crushes and how I compare them to the Hall of Fame players. Keon White's one of them, and he reminds me of J.J. Watt. And he's a guy I would love to come to Kansas City. And part of the reason why I think Keon White would work in Kansas City is Chris Jones made public that, hey, look, I want to be the second highest paid defensive tackle. And most Chiefs fans are like, yeah, you're willing to come here. But really what he was saying is, hey, look, guys, I need to get paid here, you know, but he's going to be 30. And the Chiefs are paying that Patrick guy. He's getting the Patrick price. You draft a guy like Keon White, you may just say, hey, listen, we're going to bulk you up. You're going to play defensive tackle when Chris Jones is gone. But I think year one, he plays at defensive end. Keon White, I would love it. I don't think he's going to be available. I really think he could be like, seriously, defensive MVP guy, Keon White. In a perfect world, I think his best spot would be a place like the Giants, where he could play like inside, outside, use them in a lot of different ways. Steve Spagnuolo, I think, would really have some fun with him inside, outside. But I think he's better suited because he's like a natural 5 tech. He's a natural 5 tech, just like J.J. Watt. So but in Kansas City, he could be a defensive tackle. But Keon White, maybe my favorite draft crush, because he could play defensive end, he could play defensive tackle. I could also see if Dalton Kincaid falls or if Michael Mayer falls. But I have a hard time. I don't see Kansas City going into the draft and drafting a tight end in round 1. I just don't see it happening, even though I think both Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer have Pro Bowl tight end potential. So to answer this question, it would be Keon White, because I think that this guy could just be so good. And in Kansas City, I would love to see him play outside on early downs, inside on passing downs, and he could be seriously, I mean, he's a different type of player than Chris Jones, but like he's really big, he's really fast, and he's raw as hell. Former tight end. So yeah. Hey, same year, brother. Same year. But John and Monty would be so much to play again. Yeah, I seriously. I told Luke G this. If John Robinson gets drafted by Detroit, and I said this before Montgomery signed, I really think that John Robinson's a legitimate MVP candidate, because he would be a 300+ touch guy. But the thing is, though, with Montgomery, he's not really an MVP candidate, because I can see Montgomery getting a lot of those touchdowns. But yeah, oh God, that would be a lot of fun to watch. I don't believe the Falcons think Okuda is a better option than Hayward as a number 2. I have no idea, but I do know the Falcons if I had to say, give me a coach who's the number one on the hot seat, Ron Rivera and Arthur Smith for Atlanta. And you could flip flop the two. I thought Arthur Smith, because of all the free agent moves, back to back double digit losing seasons. But now that the sale looks like it's going to be finalized and Washington's going to be sold and Rivera's the GM and head coach, and they're the only NFC East team to not make the playoffs, that would kind of lead, because normally when you see a change in front office or coaching when you have a new owner. All right. When you have a new owner, usually you see a change in one or the other. But since you got a guy who's been there and he hasn't had a lot of success, so it makes sense for him to go. So I would say that he's probably my number one. But Arthur Smith in Atlanta, very close number two. So you need in Atlanta at 8, they need to get whoever they draft has to be day one ready. And that's why I kind of like Bijan Robinson, is that Bijan Robinson, boom, you plug him in, gets 300 touches. He immediately helps your offense. And of all the pieces you added on defense, you should be better. So that's why I like him in Atlanta. So also, I want to say Sidney Brown from Tennessee is probably the best safety in the draft. His instincts are off the charts. I have not heard too much about Sidney Brown. I'll do some more research. So the way the safety class is, sorry, I got a little cotton mouth. I'm almost out of coffee. Brian Branch at Alabama, some people consider him a slot corner, and most teams are playing base nickel, so it's like a starting position. If you consider him a free safety, then he's universally the best safety. Antonio Johnson's one of my big draft crushes, and I've been mocking him in Cincinnati, unfortunately. I have not watched enough of Sidney Brown. I don't think he's going in the first round. I'll watch some more film on him, though, because he's not a name I've mocked in the first round at all. Draft hasn't happened. You don't know teams rest in their schedule, etc. We don't know how many one can talk about strength. Yeah, okay, I gotcha. By the way, Sam Laporta is another one of my draft crushes. Not going in the first round, but day 2. Let me pull up day 2 here real fast. Trying to think would be a good spot. It might be a little early, but Laporta at 38 to the Raiders could make some sense. I like Laporta a lot. I'm gonna have to watch more of this Brown guy. I haven't mocked him in a first round, so I'll have to watch him. Here's the problem: players gambling. If you lose big, you can they shave off to pay your debt. Well, that's what happened to Boston College scandal. Is that they were supposedly were winning games, but just shaving points to cover the spread. And it's really good. And they, like I said, they interview Henry Hill. It's a really good special. So one of the players, it's really funny because Henry Hill tells one version, the player that went to jail tells another version, and the player who was involved but excused, he tells another version. So it's kind of weird. But I encourage you, if you have some time, that 30 for 30 about it's called like Playing for the Mob or something like that. It's an ESPN 30 for 30. It's really, really good. And the actual Henry Hill, he's actually in it. So I saw it not too long ago. It was like a month or two ago. It's really, really good. And it was funny. Me and a buddy years and years ago, we were like, if you're going to fix anything, college basketball's easy. And it really is. College basketball is the easiest thing to fix. So, yeah. NFL players will fail drug tests because of SOBI, regardless of rules. Ass. And it was Golden Tate that got the 4 games. It was Golden Tate. Really? I thought it was a lineman for some reason, but yeah, I can go to Circle. Yeah, I can go to Circle K. Yeah, and Cheapest was hurt before we got him. Before he got hurt, him and Golf Rocket. Cheapest was a guy I really liked playing for Wisconsin. And he's a guy that this might end his NFL career, but I really, really like the dude. And I hope that he gets reinstated. And if he gets reinstated and he really wants to come back, he's not a guy who's going to be like a 2 or a 3, but he's the guy that you want to be like a special teams player and wide receiver number 5 on your team. So I seriously, not in the first round, but at 48, I could see him move. Hold on here. Let me see here. Let me see it. Let me full order. Like just spitballing off the top of my head, I could see like moving up from 48 to 41, like Tennessee. I could see Tennessee like, hey, look, we're going to get some players. We're going to get some draft picks. Like a 48-41 move. I could see him move in the second round. I'm dead serious. I could see him move in the second round. I would be floored if you go from 18 to 14, where New England is definitely trading down. So, but could you trade up in the second round for a wide receiver? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's funny because Tennessee's a team that could see drafting a wide receiver in round 2. RHH and Backdoor Brother Keys, they all get beat once in a while. They're young. Tape speaks for himself, though. He's a good pick for any team in the second, third, versatile safety. I need to watch more of this guy, man. You know, I kind of was thinking this might be the year the Saints just blow everything up, but instead they gave Carr a lot of money. You know, they're picking 29th. I have no idea what the Saints are going to do at 29. My final mock draft, I had them trading out of round 1. The Saints are a weird team because they got some age on defense. They lost some players in free agency, but they made that big move for Carr. There was a while with Peyton and Breeze, I thought that they were the best team in the NFC. They lost the NFC Championship game to the Rams, a team that they beat just a few weeks ago in the regular season. The no pass interference call, one of the worst calls in playoff history. I'm not even a Saints fan. It was a bad call. I'm trying to remember. Was it the next year or was it the year before, the Music City Miracle? 99% of the time, that's a tackle. Okay, so Music City Miracle. If I may have my history mixed up. Music City Miracle, the NFC Championship game, and then their favorites by like the 10 points to the Vikings just 2 years after Music City Miracle, and they just laid an egg. The Zimmer and the Vikings just beat the Saints in a game. The Saints just looked lifeless. I remember watching that game and just like this. I really thought that was the team. If I remember, I was a 13-3 Saints team that had the 3 seed. Was that 2019 where San Francisco went to? I think that's right. Yeah. So that stretch, I thought the Saints had the best team in the NFC, couldn't get to the game. And normally when you have a stretch like that, you blow the team up. But I thought that's what they were going to do, but instead they spent a lot of money on Carr. They restructured Michael Thomas. Remember last year they traded up and got Chris Olave. He had a really, really good rookie season. In my opinion, the Saints are the team to beat, but the other 3 teams in the NFC South, I've got to say, you know what? We got a chance. If I had to put money on who's going to win the NFC South, I say it's the Saints, but the Saints got a lot of age on that defense. I think Demario Davis is going to start the season at 34. I think he turns 35 in December. I could be wrong, but bringing back an old bowl Buster game we used to play in the chat. If you don't know, timestamp 822. Just kidding, man. We love it. Old ball Buster game. I have no. I'm Man, I'm sorry, man. Okay. It's not on the team, but if I'm the Lions organization, I would come out and try to protect the player. And I do this just as a way to stick up for the guys. But to be honest with you, I firmly believe that they have classes, that the NFL has classes, and that they did enough to educate the players. But if I'm the Lions, I would come out and just try to stick up for my guys. But internally, you'll never know this publicly, but internally, I'm really curious how they respond. I think there could be a part of the organization, the front office and ownership that's really pissed and just says, look, we're just going to get rid of this guy as quickly as possible. So Hatter's House 710. We're going to follow this, but it does affect the Lions in the draft. I think what no one's talking about, if you allow players to gamble, you're taking a risk on players not being in the up and up. Now your product is questioned because that drop on purpose was so you can come up financially. And that's the reason why college basketball is so easy to fix. There's this great article about a guy who was shaving points. And what is he's a 21-year-old kid. He had a kid. And what is somebody came up to him and said, hey, listen, you cover this game, $1,000 cash. And I remember in the article, the coach, like, why'd you miss that, pass or have that turnover? He goes, I just made $1,000. And it probably college basketball is the easiest thing. And what is you take a young kid from the streets and you say, hey, listen, you're still going to the NBA, you're going to Europe, look, you're favored by 12, covered spread, here's a couple thousand. There was a picture that came up in Sports Illustrated. We're about the same age, Gooch. You remember UNLV, they had that undefeated season and lost to Duke in the national championship. Well, I found later on there was a picture of Larry Johnson and Stacey Augmon, which went 1 and 2 in the draft with a guy called, quote unquote, the Fixer. And they were in a hot tub together, having a party. So. And my team's tight end embarrasses a good secondary. Funk that connected on the long touchdown, but it's called back. One of these times I'm going to try. Please do send that to me. Cause please do. Hatters, but go watch it. You see him slow down. Yeah. I remember that pass. I was thinking that. Mox without the talent or Steve Florida. I love Florida. What's it? What I don't get it, but I love it. I love it. Could Lance be part of an A-Rod trade? I don't think so. I really want, unless Jordan Love is just terrible. And I remember that game he had against Kansas City. He looked all. Here's the deal with Jordan Love. I remember watching him, and I watched him twice, both blowout losses. And I was like, this is a 6th round pick. I did not see first round at all. I didn't see anything close to first round. I saw a guy, I was like, I hope he stays in college another year. But it's I never saw it. And then when he started in Kansas City, he looked like he did not look like a starting NFL quarterback. If you're convinced that Jordan Love can't be the quarterback, then yeah. But I think Aaron Rodgers will be a Jet. He was running diagonal parallel to line of scrimmages. Yeah. Listen, guy, I try to take pride in answering all questions. I am losing my voice. I have coffee. I really need to get I seriously could probably slam like a whole jug full of water right now. It's kind of hard for me to talk. So I'm going to try and get through all these comments, but I'm going to wrap this up here in the next couple of minutes. If you have a question, I'm going to probably skip some stuff here, but if you have a question, I'm going to try to answer it, but it's just getting hard to talk here. Oh, I agree. I love the talent. Florida, I don't get it all because if nothing, I would call you Iowa. But I have to admit it has a nice ring to it. I have it on my list. So cool. We had to watch 1960. Oh God. Yeah. So our teacher got sick, so we had a substitute who didn't know the teacher's nudity blocker. I heard 2 is really, really good. I heard 3 was good too. I need to watch all 3 one of these days. I like Ryan Felipe. I'm a big Ryan Felipe fan. 54, great movie, very underrated movie. Cruel Intentions is one that not everybody. It's a weird movie, but I liked it. I like Cruel Intentions. I like Ryan Felipe. I will check it out. It is on my list. I'm not joking. There's a bunch of movies on my watch list. That's one of them. I will get a chance. I next week I want to there was something I was going to talk about today with golf that I'm going to have to pass till next week, but I'm going to next week after the draft or something I'm going to talk about with golf. So I will check it out. I definitely will. God, I'm sorry. It is really hard to talk right now. Okay, so I had Miles Murphy going at 6, and the reason why is I had Anderson, Carter, and Wilson all gone, and I think 6 could be a spot. And Miles Murphy, who doesn't have injury history, reminds me a lot of Aiden Hutchinson. I actually think Miles Murphy's a better pure athlete than Hutchinson. That's why I really like it. So. And this is a guy who Miles Murphy in a defense like Detroit or in a wide 9 defense could be awesome. So I have no idea why I drew a blank on Tua. I feel so embarrassed about that. He has that foot injury that's been long lingered. So Miles Murphy supposedly ran like a 4.51 at 275. And that's why I didn't see the pro day and everything, but I'm hearing that Miles Murphy's draft stock is just skyrocketing. 6 is probably a little high, but I've been mocking him 12 to Houston, so I know I'm very embarrassed about that. Okay. So, okay. But please keep me updated. I didn't know any of that. And here's the thing. If he goes to Atlanta, I think definitely. If he goes to Detroit, because he would switch, split carries with Montgomery and Swift, then no. So it's kind of funny. Quentin Johnston, he's my number 1 wide receiver. He wanted to come, and the NFL's like, no. But Keon White, he is probably my number 1 draft crush. Could be like a JJ Watt type of player. I've been mocking him most commonly to the Giants, and I think that's like the perfect spot for him because Wink Martindale would get very creative with him, and I think he belongs in more of a 3-4 defense. In Kansas City, he would be like an inside-outside guy, a slightly different variation. White's a guy who also in Kansas City could end up being a full-time defensive tackle. But Keon White, one of my biggest draft crushes, maybe my biggest draft crush. And I would love it. I would love it if he was a Chief. I've been mocking wide receiver, but Keon White, if he goes to Kansas City, I'll probably go streaky. So in Detroit, I don't think so. Tight end class is either going to surprise people by going early as some is mocked, or else they're going to surprise. So I've been mocking. I definitely think Dalton Kincaid's a guy that I think Dallas and a few other teams are looking at Dalton Kincaid and like, yeah, we're going to get him. It wouldn't surprise me if Michael Mayer is the best tight end in football 2 to 3 years from now. I think he's that good. And then I really think that you're going to see 4, maybe 5 tight ends go in round 2. There are some really, really good tight ends that are going to go in round 2. And the thing is that there's a lot of question marks about some of these tight ends, but there's a lot of really good tight ends in this draft. I personally think Dalton Kincaid definitely goes round 1. Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame maybe goes round 1. And if he doesn't, there could be 5 or 6 tight ends go round 2. This is a really interesting tight end class because there's probably going to be about 10 to 12 tight ends that actually play this year as rookies. So Sidney Brown's the Illinois running back, but I thought you guys were talking about a safety. So I thought you were talking about the running back. I'm sorry. So Keys was Gucci tends to be Chris Berman. So a lot of people don't know this, but Chase Daniel, he was a longtime backup. So it's funny because Blaine Gabbert backed up Chase Daniel at Southlake High School, which Southlake High School, for those you don't know, is just outside of Dallas. There's probably 5 or 6 future NFL players playing at Southlake right now. It's probably, I don't know. It's maybe 5 or 10 high schools in the country, maybe that have more NFL talent than Southlake. Southlake High School is funny. Like it's in Dallas suburbs. And the first time I went down there, I was like, man, it'd be cool to go to those games. And they laughed at me. I was like, well, I can't go to a high school game. They're like, oh no, Dan, you have to be put on a wait list to get season tickets. And it's like 30-year wait list. I mean, Texas high school football is a different beast. And so he backed up Chase Daniel at Southlake. They backed him up at NU as well. It's just kind of funny. I'm all for it. He went 8th overall, and I'll never forget this. As a rookie, John Gruden basically called him a pussy on the air. They kept on showing a play where like they're losing by a couple touchdowns and he just spikes the ball. And Gruden's like, yeah, you just gotta do something more in here. And then, I mean, you're down by a couple. Gruden just kept on going on and on. And for those of you that don't know, Blaine Gabbert had like immense talent. He was like 6'6", 230, 235, ran a 4.7. Really, really good arm. Really good arm. Just didn't seem he had some preseasons where he looked awesome. I like it. I like it. Can he win a game or two? Absolutely. I actually like it. I'm a little surprised because he's been a high-priced backup, and I don't think he signed for a lot. So I like it. But I can kind of rant about him. I think I've done enough though. Rock Howard. Are they going to take a wide receiver early? Okay, 3rd round. I like it. It's very crazy deep. I've been mocking Peter Skarnonsky going to Chicago at 9. That's I've been mocking that. Just whoever's their best offensive lineman, that's who you have to take. Since comparison was made, Miles Murphy's arms are 1.625 inches longer, 40.435. Yeah. They have a running back out of Illinois that. Okay, all right. Well, yeah. I know about the running back. I did not know about the safety. I knew the running back's a guy I really like. I didn't know about the safety, so I'm going to watch some. I'll try to watch some film, but I'll be honest. Between now and the draft, I'm going to try to focus. And I didn't see. I didn't see Bufa in the chat, but we text quite a bit. So I kind of just want to touch base with them before we go live for the NFL draft, which is only 6 days away. Can you believe it? 6 days away. And by the way, I haven't done it. I'm going to be live Tuesday with my final mock draft. The talent, Gooch, Aaron. I think Aaron's off his lunch break. If you guys want to join me, I'll let y'all make the Kansas City Chiefs pick. I reached out to Luke G. He wanted me to get back with him. And so I don't know if Luke G will join, but I'm going to do a mock draft live. So that's Tuesday. It's going to be an hour earlier. And then Thursday, the whole first round with Bufa, and hopefully he doesn't get divorced. I didn't think that much of it, to be honest with you. The one thing I thought that was interesting, though, is that Gabbert, I thought it was kind of interesting that he wasn't even considered to be the starter when he was the backup, and you lose Brady. And I mean, don't forget, this is the 9th overall pick in the draft, but I think, hey, listen, he's made a lot of money being a backup. I think it's a smart move. I really think it's a smart move. Let me drink the last of my coffee. Okay, I'm done with the coffee, and I just need to drink a lot of water. So I'm going to end on this note. Dan is bummed that there's not a draft prospect named Bertha for Dan to crush. Well, two of my biggest draft crushes are Cyrus Torrance, who's about 340, and Keon White, who's about 290. So on that note, guys, listen, if you haven't already, please give me a thumbs up. It looks like there's all regulars, but if you're not and you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'm going to go live Tuesday night, special live first round mock. Thursday, me, Bufa, the whole first round, live 1 through 31. Then I'll be back on Monday, and I'm going to just do my draft review. And I have a whole system of how I do it. I've been doing the same thing for a while. But yeah, I'm going to go live, and I'm going to give my draft grades. And I'm hard on the draft grades. I don't just, not every team gets an A and B. I tried to do a sliding scale where it doesn't work out that way, but I try to do it like every team gets 3. So like 3 teams get an A, 3 teams get an A minus, 3 teams give a B plus. I keep on trying to do that, but yeah, wow, I didn't know he signed for that. Wow, that's really cool. By the way, Keith does pay the $99.99 for the platinum membership to my OnlyFans, so I appreciate the $100 a month. So on that note, I'm out of here. Tuesday, join me live Tuesday 6 p.m. Thumbs up if you're new. Hit that subscribe button. I hope to see all of you back Tuesday.